The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Listen to this shocking statistic. 1 in 13 college students believe they've been given a spiked drink. 14% of those reported a sexual encounter as a result of that. Well, there's now a new solution out there being developed. It comes in the form of a cocktail napkin. And if you all are asking yourselves, what is this all about? Joining us to explain via Skype is the creator, Danya. And I want to ask you, Danya, because this is obviously such an important topic. How did you even come up with this idea?
During the summer of 2016, while studying abroad in Spain, I was socializing with one of my friends when he had drugged my drink and unfortunately took advantage of the situation. Statistically speaking, over 70% of assaults occur between two people that know each other. It's a lot more common than individuals would think.
See, that's a little surprising. You would think that, sure, that if you're in Vegas at a club, you're more likely that somebody could do this to you, but it can happen anywhere.
Well, no, and apparently 90% of assaults occur anytime people, either the victim or the attacker, are consuming alcohol. So Danya, though, I think this is really compelling because you're actually still in college working on the KnoNap, correct? This is a project for you that you're doing now after your own experience, correct?
Yes, so KnoNap actually started, where I started putting pen to paper for a business plan in a course called Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership and received validation from that class that the issue's present and there is no tangible, discrete solution. I really wanted to create a product that would be discrete and gender inclusive because anyone can be affected by the issue.
So tell us about it. Tell us about the KnoNap and how it works and how you envision it being distributed.
And what you can test for.
Yeah.
All someone has to do is take a drop of their drink or a few drops of their drink and place it on a specific area on the napkin. And if there's drug presence, there'll be a color change in the viewing area. It's very discreet. It'll change color to red. As you see in the depiction, we had to replace chemicals with pH paper, and the drink is a lemon concentrate. We've done testing in our lab, but of course, for publicity's sake, we're not able to have regulated drugs outside of our lab.
So I'm curious, speaking of drugs, we know that there are a few that Rohypnol, GHB, that are commonly used to spike drinks. What all do you test for with the KnoNap?
We test for Rohypnol, and as well, we're working for a class of drugs called benzodiazepines, which are what Rohypnol is encompassed in. In that class, there are over 26 drugs commonly used as rape drugs. Currently, the only product on the market is only able to test for 2, and we're looking to test for a lot more than that.
I do understand, though, that you've faced some criticism, too, that some people actually don't think this is a good idea. Can you address that?
So honestly, we've received a lot of amazing publicity and press and kudos back to us. One thing I acknowledged early on is that I do not want my product to be just a napkin company. And I've stressed that from the beginning. And to that end, our mission is not just empowerment through our tool, but as well education and advocacy for survivors of sexual violence. And we're really a prevention company. To that end, we work with education, with Title IX offices as well as police departments to ensure that individuals that are most at risk are given the proper education. And as well, later on, we're working with advocacy. I'm based in Washington, D.C. I've worked on the Hill for over a year prior to founding KnoNap. So I'm very excited to start that end in creating harsher regulations for perpetrators of sexual violence.
Well, Danya, very impressive what you're doing. Just keep up the great work. We wish you nothing but success on this project, and honestly, this is one of those things where you might ask yourself, well, if I have to carry a napkin around, where do I take it? Where do I not take it? But when I read that 2/3 of these spiked drink cases in college occur in apartments or dorms, so think about that. This is, in case people are wondering, this is actually more about what's happening in your own home and domain.
And 90% of rapes involve drinking, and that's where your drink can be spiked. You know, if this takes off, I mean, is it going to come to the point where you have your little napkin and boom, you drop it on there? That's going to be like standard. I mean, some people are going to take offense to that. Like, you think that I would? Well, you don't.
You don't
have to do it in public. If you're with someone on a first date and you go over to their dorm in college and you're just trying to be safe, you could discreetly, you could literally go into the restroom and just take a little dab and see. I think the bigger concern, I think Danya addressed this, is you're not going to be able to test for every substance. And there is always going to be some false positives and false negatives. And I think the more that they can lock that in, because boy, a false negative is really bad because you might think you're safe, but a false positive as well would be a very unfortunate social situation if you believe it. So that's why I'm glad that they're developing this to hopefully be as accurate as possible. But I do
think it's important. I think it's fantastic. I think there also are some schools of thought that it places too much responsibility on the victim, that now, okay, this is another thing you have to be aware of, and you have to carry around this napkin, and now you have to test everything. I actually think the more tools in your armamentarium you have, the better.